Hello, my name is MiCaila Reid, and I'm going to walk you through my final online course presentation for Dr. Jackie Kim. The learning objectives for this course follow with lessons 1, 2, and 3. The objectives are: I can explain and ask questions about the life cycle of a butterfly. I can work with a team to complete the life cycle of a butterfly using an Ozobot. To get started in the course, students will see an All About My Teacher in Classroom. They will be prompted to navigate through the facts about their teacher and then see if they remember which facts are true or false at the end. And so this is sort of a warm-up game where they get to know the teacher and get to know some facts about their teacher. The introduction continues with a digital citizenship lesson, and students are also asked to review our class netiquette rules. And then we jump right into the learning targets. What is our main focus for this learning course? Students are able to click on the Google slide and use the audio tool to listen to the learning targets. The introduction to the life cycle of a butterfly starts with lesson 1. Students first begin by watching a brain pop video on butterflies, and then they are asked to review the Padlet rubric that directs them to the expectations for their responses on their Padlet. And so students are asked after watching the video to record a video of themselves describing their new learning about butterflies that they either learned from the video or maybe some facts that they already knew. And then afterwards, they are prompted to to assess on Google Forms over butterflies. Lesson 2, it begins with a yoga warm-up. In this warm-up, students are engaging with the steps or the stages of the life cycle of a butterfly. And then they will complete a Nearpod lesson where they watch another short clip, which helps them to review the previous day's lesson. And then they complete a drag and drop. And this is a graded assignment. And then they will complete a poll on quizzes, which is just a self-assessment. It lets the teacher know how they feel about their new learning, and they're able to complete that self-assessment. And then they are given a choice board, which they are to complete at least 2 of the choices on the choice board to get credit. They also need to review the choice board rubric before beginning so they know the expectations for the choice board and submitting their final responses to the classroom Padlet. And so the last part of this lesson is for them to answer what was their favorite choice and why, and they submit that to the class Padlet. In the final lesson, lesson 3, students start with a word cloud in quizzes where they identify some of the key words and vocabulary that they've heard throughout the new learning that they've had with the life cycle of a butterfly. And then students will review another rubric on coding, and they are asked to break into their groups, make sure they have their materials, and they complete an Ozobot map. The lesson concludes with a final assessment on Kahoot, where students are able to engage. And what I really liked about the Kahoot lesson is that it has visuals that go along with the questions, and so students are able to identify the stages of a butterfly either through memory or by looking at the visual cues. Mayer's 12 principles. Throughout the course, simple visuals and simple text related to the learning topic are used, and this is in alignment with the coherence principle. Also, the signaling principle. Throughout the lesson, important words are highlighted, learning sections are separated. Redundancy principle. When graphics and text were combined, then text is minimal on the page. Spatial continuity principle. Text and graphics are physically close together. Temporal continuity principle. Voiceover is appropriately aligned with the visual shown. Segmenting principle. Lesson is self-paced. Students can transition to the next slide by clicking the arrow. Pre-training principle. Learning outcomes prepare the students for the lesson. Modality principle. Limited text is on the screen. Multimedia principle. Images relate to the content. Personalization principle. The language used is simple and little use of complex words. Voice principle. Use of my own voice throughout the lesson. And then the image principle. Limited use of instructor. My assistive technology plan for this course, throughout the lesson, students interact with Nearpod. Nearpod is self-paced, which allows the students to have extended time to complete their lessons if necessary. Students can also listen to the recorded audio. They use the visuals throughout the lessons to help guide their understanding. The quizzes in Google Forms has an immersive reader, which aids students needing read aloud. In addition, on quizzes, students have a visual timer, although they are also allotted unlimited attempts. Kahoot also provides a read aloud option and visuals along with the question. TPAC. How is it applied in this course? First, looking at content knowledge. Students receive an overview of butterflies, which introduces them to the terms life cycle, insects, nectar, antenna, larva, and pupa or chrysalis, proboscis, and metamorphosis. They also are exposed to pedagogical knowledge. The students check for understanding of content before completing their independent practice by completing the quizzes throughout the lessons. Students are also asked to review the rubrics before beginning their activities. And technological knowledge. Students will use YouTube to watch an introductory video on butterflies, Google Classroom to access their few assignments, Google Forms, Kahoot, and Quizzes to complete their quizzes, and Ozabots to sequence the life cycle of a butterfly. How does this course align with UDL? The lessons are introduced using YouTube videos or a discussion board, and this identifies with representation, action, and expression. Students have the opportunity to engage with their peers using quizzes to create word clouds and Padlet to reflect and share and give feedback on a topic. Engagement. Throughout the online course, students are engaged with using coding to identify the stages of a butterfly's life cycle, as well as using a choice board to demonstrate mastery of the learning targets. The rubrics are utilized throughout the course to help students self-monitor their progress and meet the expectations provided by their teacher. Thank you for viewing my presentation.